I'm Alex from Alltime Movies, and it's time for the show that makes everyone feel really stupid. The Big Bang Theory! Jokes, it's actually Sherlock. It's been 2 years since we last saw good old Sherlock and Watson, and my god, doesn't it feel like a lifetime. So to get you back in the mood for season 4, here are 25 facts about Sherlock. Number 1. Showrunners Mark Gatiss and Stephen Moffat have been colleagues for years working on the BBC show Doctor Who, which was shot in Cardiff. They both developed the idea for Sherlock while on the train to Wales, and it was only when Moffat's wife Sue Virtue kicked the boys' asses into gear that the show actually got moving. She invited them both for lunch at the Criterion in London, which is where John Watson first hears of the mysterious Sherlock Holmes in the Arthur Conan Doyle books. Luckily, Gatiss and Moffat got the hint and started to actually work on the series. Number 2. Although A Study in Pink was the first episode of Sherlock, there was actually a 60-minute pilot that was never aired. The BBC produced the pilot in 2009, and it was an adaptation of the first Sherlock Holmes story called A Study in Scarlet. This pilot is available to watch on the Season 1 DVD extra, and it had a budget of £800,000 or around $990,000. Now this might sound pretty chunky, but Season 3 was filmed on a budget of over $6.2 million. In the end though, Gatiss and Moffat decided that 60 minutes was just too short, and that the season should be 3 movie-length episodes of 90 minutes instead of 6-hour-long ones. Number 3. Benedict Cumberbatch was always the first choice for Sherlock after Moffat saw him in Atonement, but Matt Smith was also desperate to become Dr. Watson. Stephen Moffat thought that he was a little bit too balmy, and it would be like having 2 Sherlocks in one room, and so he didn't get the part. Martin Freeman, however, showed up to the audition having just had his wallet stolen. He was so angry that they thought he wasn't interested in the part at all, and it was only when he returned the next week to read with Cumberbatch that he actually got the part. Also in that same week, Matt Smith got the role of the other Doctor, Doctor Who, so everybody wins. Number 4. Andrew Scott auditioned for Moriarty with a British accent, but the producers decided that his natural Irish accent was so much better. But Danish actor Lars Mikkelsen had to make his accent more Danish because he had managed to pick up a Cockney accent while filming in London before Sherlock. Number 5. The on-screen text is a massive part of the style of Sherlock, but not all fonts are the same. Typography experts have noted that the fonts change depending on the scene. For text messages, the font AF Generation Z is used. When Sherlock is deducing things, it's the P22 Johnston Underground, but when Irene Adler's phone is on show, it's always Veranda. Number 6. In A Study in Pink, we learn that Sherlock isn't a psychopath.
I'm not a psychopath, Anderson. I'm a high-functioning sociopath. Do your research.
But according to psychologist Maria Konnikova, Sherlock isn't a sociopath either. While he is deliberately cold, he does experience emotions and does care for people around him. I mean, granted, there's not very many, but he does really like Watson. However, in 2013, the UK National Autistic Society claimed that Sherlock's ability to concentrate and memorise every piece of information could suggest he's on the autistic spectrum. Number 7. Although in the books Sherlock owns and plays a violin made by Antonio Stradivarius, in Sherlock the team actually has used 3 different violins for each series. Season 3 featured the $1,500 Chinese-made Confuoco. All violins are loaned from Cardiff Violins, and John Watson has even left them a nice little testimonial on their website. Number 8. There are 17 steps between the hall and the front room in the Cardiff set, and there are also 17 between the hall and the front room in the Sherlock Holmes Museum. But why? That's because in A Scandal in Bohemia, Holmes tells Watson there are exactly 17 steps that lead up to their rooms in their infamous flat in Baker Street. Number 9. Throughout the 3 series, Sherlock never remembers Inspector Lestrade's first name, and you might think this is just because he's a bit useless, but actually this is a subtle link back to the books where you never learn the Inspector's first name. All we know is that it starts with a G, and in the TV shows this means Greg, which references Detective Gregson, who is Lestrade's rival in the books. Number 10. According to the fake websites that support the show, John's blog and Sherlock's The Science of Deduction, John made Sherlock watch James Bond and Molly made Moriarty watch Glee when they were in a fake relationship together. Apparently Sherlock didn't care for Bond too much.
Bored!
11. Sherlock is a massive hit in China with 69 million viewers. In fact, when the British Prime Minister David Cameron visited the country in 2013 and Chinese citizens were allowed to send him questions through social media, the biggest request was for him to make Sherlock hurry up and make another series. What makes this even more incredible is that the show is actually banned there. Number 12. In A Scandal in Belgravia, the Bond Air Flight 007 that's full of corpses is a reference to a deleted scene from the Bond film On Her Majesty's Secret Service, office, where Bond and Q discuss a train full of corpses. Number 13. During filming the plane of corpses scene, the extras that were playing cadavers actually fell asleep during the long shoots and started snoring during filming. Number 14. While Watson's limp might make no sense to you when you consider that he's actually been shot in his shoulder, this is actually a reference to the books where his injury mysteriously moves from his shoulder to his leg, supposedly magically, as the stories progress. Number 15. Sherlock airs in the UK on BBC One, which has no adverts at all, but airs in the US on PBS. In 2012, producer Sue Virtue revealed that PBS actually has to cut 8 minutes from each programme to make sure it fits with US advertising slots. So if you're watching in the US, you're literally missing out. Number 16. Sherlock's coat is the Belstaff Milford, which retailed for roughly $1,700. It was discontinued several years ago, but was made so popular by the show that it was very briefly brought back into production. Watson's coat is the Haversack coat from fancy department store Liberty's and was around $900. Unfortunately, even if you had the cash, this one's also been discontinued. Number 17. Sherlock fans often turn up to watch the exterior shots of the show being filmed in Cardiff or London. Often as many as 300 show up to what has been joyfully dubbed as setlock. It's become so difficult to film these exterior shots that they're now often completely written out of the show. This is so eager fans don't discover any spoilers, distract the actors on set, or accidentally appear in the background of any shots. Number 18. In The Empty Hearse, the abandoned tube station at Sumatra Road doesn't actually exist in real life. It was just a clever reference by Mark Gatiss to the giant Rat of Sumatra adventure, which is mentioned in The Adventure of the Sussex Vampire, but it's never actually expanded upon. Number 19. The swimming pool used at the end of Season 1 by Moriarty to lure Sherlock to is the Bristol South swimming pool, where showrunner Mark Gatiss actually learned to swim. As a child, not like during production. Number 20. The show involves a lot of families. Benedict Cumberbatch's parents star as Sherlock and Mycroft's parents. Amanda Abington, who plays Mary, is actually Martin Freeman's wife. Young Sherlock, who appears at the end of Season 3, is actually Stephen Moffat's son. The lawyer from the Reichenbach Fall is Mark Gatiss' husband, Ian Hallard. And also, Stephen Moffat created and writes for the show, his wife Sue Virtue produces it, and his mother-in-law Beryl Virtue executive produces it. Phew. Number 21. To prepare for his role, Cumberbatch read all of the Arthur Conan Doyle books cover to cover, but Andrew Scott wanted his interpretation of Moriarty to be completely unique and worked entirely from the script material. Number 22. Speedy's Cafe is actually a real cafe. It's located on Gower Street in London, which serves as the BBC's replacement for Baker Street because the original Baker Street is just too covered in Holmes paraphernalia to be used. In the pilot, Speedy's was renamed Mrs. Hudson's Snacks and Sarnies, but this was dropped for the series. Number 23. Sherlock is absolutely massive in Japan. There are loads of copyright-avoiding anime and manga, including Young Miss Holmes, which is about Sherlock's niece, Sherlock Hound, which is a dog-based Holmes series, Sherdock, the detective dog, where Sherlock is reincarnated as a dog, and Detective Conan, just to name a few. But completely faithful comic book adaptations of A Study in Pink and The Blind Banker have been adapted in Ace magazine and prove that the BBC version is still an absolute firm favourite. Number 24. The mansion used as the location of Appledore is actually owned by Sir David McMurtry, but he doesn't even live there because his wife thinks that the house is too flashy. Number 25. When Benedict Cumberbatch was very young, he actually lived round the corner from Una Stubbs, who plays Mrs. Hudson. When he was 4 years old, his mother used to drag him out to chat to Stubbs, who said he was a very polite, lovely boy. And that was our list of 25 facts about Sherlock. Have you got any others we missed? Let us know in the comments below. Drop us a like and a subscribe, and if you're a massive Cumberbitch, why not check out our 25 facts about Doctor Strange? It will blow your mind. See you next time.
Cumberbatch has said that the spiritualism of Doctor Strange was what attracted him to the role. Cumberbatch is a keen meditator and uses it to relax during hectic days and to try to be a kinder, more considerate person.